This is Whitley Strieber, and this is Dreamland. You have reached the edge of the world. Beneath your feet outdoors is not just a patch of grass, dirt, or sand. The earth is there. We don't think about it, but we really should think about it. A remarkable man is with us today, Clint Ober, and he knows a great deal about the importance of our connection with our planet, a connection that we can reestablish quite easily with profound effects on our lives. When we had the Dreamland Festival, there was a last-minute addition to the schedule. Chip Wilkins joined the Dreamland Festival this year. He was here at the Dreamland Festival last year with a free energy device. This year he came with something called earthing. I'd like to welcome you to the show, Clint, the inventor and creator of the earthing process. Let me begin, if I may, by asking you a question. What exactly is our connection to the earth? How does that work?
Well, first of all, you have to be aware that the earth is what we call ground in electrical terms. We've heard this term throughout our whole lives because we ground everything electrical to the earth via the electrical system in the homes, or if we're working with electronics equipment, building. Like my background, I spent 30 years in the communications cable television industry, where we had to ground everything to the earth. And what that means is you make an electrical connection with the earth, because the earth has what we call a negative surface charge. And the word negative means that there's an abundance of free electrons able to move and reduce and prevent charge. A typical example in nature, or the most classic example, is lightning. If the clouds become positive, then there's a welling up of free electrons on the earth, and then there's a discharge from the earth. The electrons go up and reduce the charge that's in the atmosphere. And so if you think back in time, or throughout all time, for the majority of the time we have been on the planet, we were barefoot and we slept in caves. And what that means is we were always in contact with the earth. So when the body touches the earth, because the body's conductive, then it automatically conducts Earth's surface charge and becomes, or it equalizes with the earth. And when we're grounded, we can't have electrical charges on or in the body. And does that make sense? Am I saying this?
Oh, okay? Yeah. You're making plenty of sense. Go right ahead.
So it's very, very, very simple. And the thing that happened is in 1960 we invented plastics and synthetic polymer based products. And the first thing we did was put them on our shoes. And in the 1960 we started wearing rubber-soled or synthetic-soled shoes. At the same time, we started putting carpets in our home that were made of polymers. And today, 95% of all shoes sold in the world are rubber-based, and almost everybody today lives primarily indoors. An example would be back in the 50s, most people had gardens, and especially the women, they spent a lot of time outdoors. And then during the 60s, a lot of women migrated into the workplace, corporate America, and started spending less time outdoors. At the same time, television came along. People started spending more time indoors, and then the computers, the games. And, today, hardly anybody can remember the last time they actually touched the earth. But right. At the same time, if you go back and look at the increase in, like MS, lupus, all of the autoimmune-related health disorders, diabetes, autism. If you go back to the 1950 time frame, there was, I don't have the exact numbers in my mind, but it was a very small percentage, like 1 in 10,000 or 1 in 100,000 of the population had what we call chronic manifestations of these health disorders. But if you follow the growth of just rubber-soled shoes over the last 50 years, you'll see, a parabolic curve, and you'll see the same parabolic curve manifest in all of these health disorders, especially diabetes, autism, lupus, MS, and all of the itises. So, anyhow, that's kind of what we're talking about here, and how I came about recognizing this. Is one day I was sitting on a park bench and watching a group of people walk by that had the big, thick rubber-soled shoes, and for some reason, intuitively, I just asked myself, I wonder if there's a problem that humans are no longer grounded, because throughout all time we were. And the only reason I knew about ground was because I spent so much time in the communications industry. And anyone with an electrical background knows that you don't want to be grounded if you're handling live electrical currents. And so I just began doing tests and measuring the effect of what happens when we ground the body. And at that time, I had a lot of chronic back issues, all kinds of health issues. And I started grounding. The first thing I did was measure the effect on the body being ungrounded and grounded. And what I found was that in the bedrooms, for instance, we have so many electrical devices in our homes today, and they all radiate electric fields. And then in the walls at the head of the bed where where a pillow is, behind that wall, there's, a bundle of Bromax electrical wiring that radiates an electric field. And so at that time, I thought, well, maybe it was the electric fields that were really the thing that was affecting us. But as time went on, I learned a little different. But anyhow, what I did is I threw a wire out the window, connected it to a ground rod in the earth. Actually, two wires, one to go to a voltmeter and one to, I just made a ground plane on my bed and I laid on it and then took the voltmeter to make sure I was at earth potential. And the first time I did that, I fell asleep and just had some remarkable sleep. And then as a little time went on, I started grounding some of my friends. Didn't have a whole lot to do, I guess, back then. Yeah. And it was a good conversation.
Now,
but anyhow,
how do you ground somebody? Well, we're just coming up on our first break, and so we're going to take that break now, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Imagine a tribe hidden deep in the forest, untouched by the modern world. Now imagine that they still possess the ancient magic that we have lost. They live in deep peace, in deep understanding. But then they're found. The modern world pours in on them from every side. Who will help? Who will save this miracle in the forest? Read Whitley Strieber's new ebook, The Secret of Orenda, and discover the magic. One reader says, I was captivated from the first pages. Others agree. Speaks to us on a level mere words cannot. I read it in 2 sittings, my face running with tears, my heart filled with joy. To learn more, go to orendabook.com. That's orendabook.com.
An Unknown Country subscription opens a door into a world of mystery and information. Over 200 special interviews where our guests open the doors of their minds to our subscribers. A Dreamland archive going back to 2004. Plus Whitley's Room, where you will find his talks on The Key and The Path, his original communion hypnosis sessions, audio versions of many of his books, the inspiring talks on the Bible as you have never heard it discussed before, and above all, his beautiful, inspiring meditations. More special material for subscribers every week. $12.95 gets you 3 months of wonder. Plus, you can subscribe online or by mail. Get your mail-in form on our subscriber sign-up page.
This is Whitley Strieber at Dreamland. We're talking to Clint Ober, his book, Earthing, his website, earthing.com. That's the correct website, isn't it, Clint?
Yes, there's also the earthinginstitute.com.
Yeah. What is the difference between the two? I was going to ask that question.
Well, the Earthing Institute is where we, collect the studies and all of the questions and answers about earthing.
Right.
And so anybody can find out about anything that we know to date. And there's a dozen published studies now available.
Right.
And it's just a resource for people to ask questions, exchange information, and to learn more about grounding.
It's so, obviously, we're not grounded. I mean, I'm sitting here on a carpet on the second floor of a building, wearing shoes and socks in a chair, talking into a microphone, and the microphone is grounded, but not me.
That's correct.
Okay. What does that mean to me?
Well, I've been working on this for about 14 years. And again, when I started on this, it was just more inquisitive than anything else. But the more I learned, the more I understood about biology and how the body works electrically. Then I, kept uncovering all of these issues that grounding seemed to help. Like if you have chronic pain in the body, if you ground your body, the pain will significantly diminish over a rather short period of time.
When you say a short period of time, say you're arthritic, would it help that?
Yes, absolutely. That's one of the primary things that, it's like if you have some arthritis in your hand, you go outdoors, take your shoes off, put your feet on the earth, put your hands on the earth, and sit there for 30, 40 minutes, and you'll have a 90% reduction in the hot pain in your body. I mean, it's too simple. And how it works, that's probably, I think what I have to do is back up a little bit, but what the body does, with the immune system, produces, let's say you have a pathogen in the body or you've had an injury, and then the white blood cells, the neutrophils, macrophages, whatever, they're released to the area. And what the neutrophils do is they release what we call reactive oxygen species, and they are short electrons. So what they're really doing, or have an electron imbalance. So what they're doing is they will attack the pathogen and steal electrons from the pathogen, and thereby, in the process, destroy them. So the immune system really works electrical. And a reactive oxygen species, in more common terms, is a free radical. And so when if you're short of electrons, if you don't have enough electrons in your body, and there's any residual amount of these free electrons, or these free radicals, then they will only last for a few nanoseconds. So they're going to attack a healthy tissue or and steal an electron from it, which damages that tissue, which then that tissue screams out to the body saying, something's still here getting me. So more neutrophils come to the rescue of the cell, destroy that cell. And then what you end up with chronic inflammation. You have a chronic loop going on here. So to think of it, a free radical is a charged molecule, a charged particle. So if you're grounded as we were throughout all time and in nature, then your body is charged with free electrons. So any of these reactive oxygen species, when they're sprayed on or released at the site of a pathogen, they automatically destroy the pathogen, then any of the residual are automatically mopped up and reduced. So this is a little technical, but
I think we're probably all following you, and my mind is leaping to questions, and for example, how do we do this? And I know if we go on your website, you have various products that you can use to ground with. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have to tell a little bit of a story. The first thing,
please do.
Yeah, the first thing people need to do, you need to understand, grounding is natural. It is our most natural state. And because we used to live barefoot on the earth, and 100 years ago, everybody was barefoot, primarily except for the well-to-do, and we lived in homes that had dirt floors, so we were naturally grounded. So when you're grounded, what happens is it stabilizes the internal electrical functioning of the body. It's a sometimes it's hard to say this.
Right.
It's like you can't have charge in the body when you're grounded. So that means there's no damage can be done by radicals.
Right.
So, but if you can hold this picture in your mind, here's the Earth, and we've seen it from space, and you know that there's like a blue hue around, the Earth, but on the surface of the Earth there is this layer of free electrons. It encompasses the entire Earth, and this is produced by electrons and photons, protons coming from the sun, and then from the atmospheric weather, the global electrical circuit, the weather, lightning, and so on. And so anyhow, so the Earth has this negative surface charge. As soon as you ground the body, the human body, then the body also, because it's conductive, similar to the Earth, then it equalizes with, meaning the body then has this negative surface charge throughout. It encompasses the whole body. But in our research, what we've found, and this has only been in the last couple of years, because we were forever looking for, earthing has this effect on the body. It reduces pain, and people feel better, they look better, and all of these things, they sleep better. And so, what is the actual mechanism? But in the last 3 years, and one study will be published next week, actually, which depicts what I'm talking about. But what we found is the red blood cells in the body, as soon as you ground the body, after about 20-30 minutes, they also take on a significantly increased negative surface charge. And what this means is, if you can remember when we were kids, we had magnets, and we put the two negative ends together, they would repel each other and push each other away.
Right.
And if we took the positive end and put a negative together, they would snap together. So what happens when you increase the negative surface charge on red blood cells, then they all repel each other. And so in technical terms, it normalizes blood viscosity or blood thickness. And then the red blood cells can get in and out of the capillaries without sticking together or clumping together, and you have better oxygenation of tissue. And this is really the underlying thing, earthing, that prevents the inflammation.
I see what you're saying.
Right.
Of course. But go ahead, please.
Yeah. But anyhow, so along the way in developing these studies, I had no intention ever of producing a product. My background is electrical. But as we were doing the studies, we had to create what we call ground planes. And that is a conductive surface of some kind that a person can stand on, sit on, or lay on. And in many cases, we used electrode patches like an EKG patch and just connected it to a ground. And that way we could measure and monitor what was taking place in the body. So along the way, as we were doing our studies, we had researchers and subjects who experienced benefit from earthing, and so they wanted the products that we were using to do the studies with.
Yeah, I think Chip Wilkins might have been one of those people.
Right.
And he really did. It was terribly exciting to listen to him at the Dreamland Festival telling about how it had changed him.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because we do not market our products. In fact, I don't even market the book, actually.
Yeah.
The book has recently been published in 7 languages, and there's another half a dozen that are in translation right now, including Mandarin and Russian.
And you can get it, folks, on Amazon or bn.com or probably through the Apple Store electronically. I don't know. And you can certainly get it in any bookstore. And it makes for very, very interesting reading. And one of the reasons is that it becomes very clear here that inflammation is the center of disease almost. Am I right about that essentially?
Yeah. About 50 years ago, and that's when, it's like 50 years ago, I think, what are those terms? I think 95% of all visits to a practitioner were for infectious disease, bacterial infection, acute injury, childbirth. And today, 95% of all visits to a health practitioner are for what we call a stress-related health disorder, meaning something is stressing the body sufficient that the body can't maintain health. So everything that falls into that is like diabetes, lupus, MS, arthritis, and just a host of inflammation or autoimmune-related health disorders. And, the earthing, how it fits in is very simply the body was always negatively charged. Well, the immune system operates with free radical.
Right.
And so when you're not grounded, then these free radicals can the collateral damage sets up this.
Tremendous. Getting rid of free radicals is an absolute key to health at every age, especially as you get older.
Right. And so it's very simple. So, the bottom line of all of this is what I try to share with people is give them, basic understanding. And we tried to write the book so that people could understand the electrical terms quite easily. And then what I encourage everybody to do is go outdoors. If you have the book, especially, take the book, go outdoors, find a chair, take your shoes off, put your feet on the earth so that you can experience what you're reading about. And
okay, I did this. I was waiting for you to come up with this. I have had, in the past 3 months, more physical pain than I can remember in years. It started with a bad bed in a hotel that led to back problems that I had to go to a chiropractor. That led to difficulty with legs because of the back. The legs started hurting, the knees started hurting rather. Then I got TMJ for apparently unrelated reasons. I was really suffering. And what I did was, after I came back from the Dreamland Festival, I took off my shoes as much as possible. People around here where we live have seen me walking around outside without my shoes on, and I don't care. They'll live. My feet aren't at all embarrassing. And Clint, I can't tell you that it was the earthing, but I frankly feel better than I have in years. I haven't got a lick of pain anywhere.
That's the magic of it.
Yeah, and I just did it just by simply going barefoot.
Right.
And I've been waiting to do this show because I wanted to see if I could say anything about it. Now, I want to go on here because, there's no relationship between Dreamland and Unknown Country and Clint's website or Clint's books. And now on Clint's website, he has products for sale that help you ground yourself. So I want to point that out. On earthing.com, you can go and look at this for yourself, but it's there. So there's more, you can do more about this than just going to work barefoot or whatever. Because most people, I work at home, so it's pretty easy for me, but most people don't do that. And I think if you start walking barefoot around the office or wherever you work, there'll be questions.
Right. Yeah, that's part of the reason for the products. But the main thing is what I encourage people is to do what you did. Go out and experience it, and if it works for you, then here are some very simple mechanisms that are commonly used in the electronics world. Some of them, like the mats and so on, that you can bring into your home and put your feet on them, sit on them, sleep on them, whatever, so that you can experience the same thing that you're experiencing when you're outdoors.
Right.
And it's really that simple.
And basically what it does is it plugs into a grounded plug in the wall, and you just sit on it instead of, you put it in the chair, or I think you have sheets as well. Yes. And there's I see here a bed coming along eventually.
Yeah, what we're trying to do is find the simplest things, the most affordable things. It's like, for instance, a bed. Everybody's going to buy a bed over the next number of years. So the cost of buying a bed, it's there no matter what. So the cost of buying an earthing bed, it's free because you're going to be buying a bed. But the most important thing is there's no compliance. You don't have to think about anything. You just go to bed and you're grounded all night long, just like we used to sleep outdoors. You're grounded all night long.
Now, I, of course, can't do that because I don't have the bed or the sheets or anything like that. Tell us a little bit about what that does for people.
Okay, well, basically, it's like grounding anything electrical. In our homes, in most of the homes for sure, built after 1960, you have a 3-prong outlet, and that little round hole on the wall plate, that is not connected to the electrical, that is connected to the earth. And so that wire is going out to the earth and connected to a ground rod that's placed in the earth. So Earth's surface charge is coming up the wire and onto the ground plane, and then as soon as you touch it, put your feet on it or whatever, then your body equalizes with the earth, identical to what would occur if you were standing barefoot on the earth outdoors.
Clint, we have to take another little break.
Sure.
This is Whitley Strieber. It's Dreamland, We're talking to Clint Ober, his book Earthing, his website earthing.com and earthinginstitute.com. Interesting stuff. We'll be right back.
UnknownCountry.com, a place of wonder. What is our world? Where are we going? Well, one place you're going is shopping. And now you can take the beautiful new Unknown Country canvas tote with you. Just $8.95 gets you your tote with a haunting Unknown Country logo. And subscribers, use your coupon to get $3 off. To order, click on the Store tab on UnknownCountry.com.
This is Whitley Strieber. Why not try a subscription to UnknownCountry.com? It is a vast and rich treasure trove. If you've never been in there, you have no idea what we really offer. It's something worth your time, worth exploring. Do not miss it. Go to Unknown Country and click on the subscribe tab right now.
Imagine a tribe hidden deep in the forest, untouched by the modern world. Now imagine that they still possess the ancient magic that we have lost. They live in deep peace, in deep understanding. But then they're found. The modern world pours in on them from every side. Who will help? Who will save this miracle in the forest? Read Whitley Strieber's new ebook, The Secret of Orenda, and discover the magic. One reader says, I was captivated from the first pages. Others agree. Speaks to us on a level mere words cannot. I read it in 2 sittings, my face running with tears, my heart filled with joy. To learn more, go to orendabook.com. That's orendabook.com.
We're back. Earthing. Is it the most important health discovery ever? Well, Clint Ober says it is. He says that right on the cover of his book, and he's got a lot of medical and scientific backup for it. Here's a doctor calls it inspired and well-researched. And I think there's some Gary Schwartz, a great friend of Dreamland, been on our show many times, loves the book. Earthing may be as fundamental as sunlight, air, water, and nutrients. May the ground be with you. He's a great guy. And I have my own experience with just simply earthing myself by going barefoot as much as I could. And I am, as I said before, not really in pain at this time. Now, if we were going to get started with this, I mean, these things are all pretty expensive. What if somebody doesn't have like $200 to pay you for, what would you suggest they do?
Well, the first thing, again, what I say is spend, 30, 40 minutes a day outdoors, barefoot. And if your health is really compromised and you get any benefit whatsoever, then do more. Just spend time outdoors. And that's what makes this the most important health discovery ever, is that it's free. And these products that we have, and there are some as low as $29, $39, $59, and on up. But what these products are, the only thing they are, they're extension cords. They connect you with the earth when you're not outdoors, when you're living indoors. And so, I hate to even talk about the products, but they're essential for a lot of people.
Well, I know, but people are going to want to know.
Right. So I just encourage people to first understand it. And there's a host of guys. I mean, I'm talking tens and tens of thousands who have read the book, who hear about the first thing they do is they go to the hardware store and buy some wire and, connect it to a screwdriver or something, stick in the earth and bring it in the window and tie it around their foot, and they get great benefit. And to me, that's perfect. It doesn't matter what it takes as long as it's safe. And because what this does is it educates everybody, helps everybody understand the real benefits of it. But, there's simple ways you can do it yourself, but women, 95% of our orders are from women. And they...
Why is that?
Well, it's because what we found over the years is women between the ages of like 35 and 55, they're really the caregiver, and they're the ones that look out for people's health, and they take care of their mother, their sister, their girlfriends, their husbands, their kids. And so they're the ones who really learn about health or, become more aware, literate, whatever, and tend to take care of their other family members. So what we find is the average person who, buys the book, and many of them are women, and they call up their mother, sister, and girlfriend and say, you got to read this book. You got to read this book. And then she will end up buying something like maybe a $59 floor mat or whatever that she can sit on and sleep on.
Right.
And then after 3 days, she will give it to her girlfriend, sister, or mother. And then she'll buy another one, or she'll give it to her kid or her husband. The guys don't go along with it very easy. They usually have to trick them into it because they haven't heard about it or don't know anything about it. Right. And so anyhow, the average person who learns about earthing, will buy a couple, 3 products within 90 days. And I call them all nurse Bettys, and even the guys, because, they want to share this. Because it's unbelievable. And it has it's so simple, and yet it has such a profound impact that, so it's got a life of its own.
Right. Well, Clint, we're coming up to the end of Dreamland. Clint's book, Earthing, the most important health discovery ever, and it certainly seems to be an important one. I've seen it work, I believe, to an extent in my own life. And there is something else. This is something I never talk about, but we're going to go on into the subscriber section, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit. Many years ago, long before I had any knowledge of any close encounters, I was diagnosed with a subclinical level of MS, which I have had episodes of all of my life. And this earthing process is apparently very helpful to people with MS and also to people with sleep problems. And like me, many of you, especially in the subscriber area, are people with sleep problems because of, guess what, post-traumatic stress disorder. So we're going to be talking about that also in the subscriber area. Clint, right now, I would like to thank you for being with us. His website, earthing.com, earthinginstitute.net. His book, Earthing, available anywhere.
You've been listening to Dreamland. Be sure to tune in again next week. Dreamland is brought to you by unknowncountry.com and our family of subscribers. Our news editor is Ann Strieber. Our science reporter is Linda Moulton Howe. Our webmaster is Daniel Stiegel. And I'm your Dreamland announcer, Brian Arnold. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week.